Hi there, welcome, and thanks for tuning in. We're at Paris Blockchain Week the whole week, talking with the greatest founders and the most impressive key opinion leaders. And today I have with me Stuart Gardner from SpaceCoin. Can you introduce yourself to the viewers?
Yeah, hi everyone. Pleasure to be here. My name's Stuart Gardner. I'm the CEO of SpaceCoin, and we are building a protocol for the new space economy. My background is in technology startups, working with various companies, and I was an investor into a company called Glua, which is the founder of the company which created a layer 1 blockchain called CreditCoin, and through SpaceCoin was incubated within Glua, and we spun out of Glua. That's my journey to SpaceCoin.
Wow. And it's SpaceCoin. It sounds really sci-fi. Can you tell us more about what SpaceCoin does?
Yes. So our vision is to create permissionless connectivity.
Yeah.
So we would like for individuals all over the world to be able to have access to the internet, access to content. There are 2.9 billion people today, so roughly over 35% of the world today don't have internet access. And we believe that creates a digital divide. It keeps people locked out of the global economy, and we believe that the space economy is going to be a large economic driver of the future. And SpaceCoin is going to allow people to participate in that, bring people online, connected, and give them economic opportunity, which they don't currently have today.
Interesting. You said the word space economy. For me, that's new. Can you also explain it to the viewers who are actually not aware of all the, who are not immersed in the blockchain technology and space? What is this? What does it entail, space economy?
Yeah, so the space economy to most people, it's a relatively new economy, but if you look at over the last decade, the opportunities to do things within space has really blossomed. So that could be space connectivity. So the most famous example in that field would be Starlink, who are using their satellites to give broadband access to people via space. There's people now looking at doing, for example, mining of critical minerals and metals from asteroids in space, or mining on the moon. That's part of the space economy. Space tourism is another one. So there's now people building these sort of large capsules which can go to the edge of space, so you can view the Earth. Yeah, exactly. Space tourism. There are people putting data centers into space now. People who are looking to gather solar power from space to beam down to Earth, so you can provide energy to Earth from space. So there's a whole host of things happening in the broader new space economy. And what has allowed this all to happen is it's a bit like the smartphone dividend, where chips and components have become cheaper, manufacturing's gotten better, so these things are much more affordable now, particularly with SpaceX leading on the launch side. Launch has gotten much more affordable, and so it's really laying the infrastructure for a whole new global economy to emerge.
Wow, I didn't know that. How did you guys got the idea to use satellite, to promote connectivity?
Yeah, so the background, so Glua, the company I mentioned before, so their mission was to give financial services to people who were unbanked or underbanked in emerging markets. So banking the unbanked. And one of the things they realized was that in a lot of the countries in which they operated, it could be 40, 50, 60% of the population didn't have internet connectivity. And so they weren't able to access these financial services even if they wanted to. And that's sort of about 3.5 years ago, we started this journey internally to see, well, how can we bring these individuals online, right? And the telecom companies in those countries didn't want to necessarily invest the capital expenditure to lay fiber optic cable. It's very expensive. And so it makes sense in urban areas, but to really lay fiber optic cable and build cell towers to rural areas becomes very expensive, and it's a financial challenge. And existing satellite internet at the time was not readily available or affordable. And so we started a project to look at, can we do this ourselves? And one of our colleagues had a background working with NASA and sort of aerospace, so he started this as a sort of internal skunk project. And then it sort of accelerated from there. And then last year we got to the stage where we were ready to pull the trigger, so we spun it out to its own separate company, and we launched our first satellite in December 2024.
Which satellite was that?
So the satellite's called CTC Zero, and it is roughly, if you think of a big shoebox, that's the size of the satellite. So people have a lot of different perceptions of what a satellite is. And historically, if you rewind 30, 40, 50 years, they were the size of a bus, and they were billions of dollars. But the new space economy has shrunk all that technology down, and so now it's more feasible than ever to launch small satellites, launch a high number of satellites.
And even cheaper than building infrastructure.
And it's become very, very affordable, yes. So the cost curve has declined significantly, it's going to continue to drop, and so we will see a huge proliferation in space, not just with satellites, but in the whole space economy. And that's where SpaceCoin wants to play a pivotal role in being the protocol that underpins the new space economy.
Nice. It's really exciting. It gets me excited. So, what was the biggest oh shit moment during the CTC Zero satellite launch?
So there were a few, I'm not going to lie. I think one of the challenges with anything to do with space is once you launch it, it's gone. Right? It's gone. So you can't. It's not like if I'm building a laptop and the laptop doesn't work, I can come and look to fix it. I can try to diagnose it. I can plug in a new chip, whatever it is. And space, you can't do that. So there's a huge amount of nervousness around the testing side of space. So you have all your designs, you run your simulations, it all should work. You put it into the satellite, you send it for testing. That's the real nervous moment, because you're like, well. Once you then put it into the satellite and you send it to the rocket launch provider, let's say a month beforehand, you have to hope it's going to operate as it did in testing when you launch it to space. And so you have to go through a whole, so that you do thermal testing to make sure it can withstand the heat. You do vibration testing because the launch of the rocket is really, really violent. And so you have to make sure your components stay. You have to use the technology in the satellite has to be radiation hardened to withstand the radiation from space. So there's all these little things which have to align to make it successful. And so I think there's many nervous moments in the development where you're like, well, I hope this works, and this doesn't work, and the downstream effects mean that won't work, which mean that won't work. And so you have to try to get it all come together at the right moment in time. And luckily our head of engineering, Adam, is a very safe pair of hands. He's kind of got that under control.
So would you have thought like 3-4 years ago that you would be a CEO of a satellite-based company?
No, not at all, no. I have, in my previous life, I had done a little bit of space investing, like space startups, space technology investing, so I had some exposure to the space. Little space, and as a kid, as many kids, I'd always dreamed of going to space. I liked sci-fi and so on and so forth, but I never saw myself actually working in space. My background is more on the commercial side of things, and I'd always assumed if you want to operate in something like space, you need to be like a hardcore engineer. But luckily, I've managed to find that hardcore engineer in my colleagues and the people we work with, and then I can focus more on the business side, the commercial side, setting up partnerships with telecom companies or partnerships with governments, and I can talk about some of those if that's interesting.
Looking at that, what do you think is the biggest challenge for you guys, partnering with governments and other businesses?
So depending on who you're talking to and how you get into them, one of the governments are very careful about who they partner with and who they work with. And as an earlier stage company, as a startup, it can be tricky on the bureaucracy side, the regulatory side. There's a lot of work that goes in there in terms of paperwork, legal work, are you making sure you're regulatory compliant, and so on and so forth. And so we've had to work with a lot of various consultants and companies to help make sure we have all of that aspect covered up. Like the technology side for working with governments and so on and so forth, that's fine. We have a great technology engineering team, we can do the technology. It's actually the non-technical stuff. If you're going to work with the legal framework, because with launching satellites, it's a bit like if you have a ship, and the ship has to have a flag of a certain nation. The same with the satellite. The satellite has to have a flag of a certain country, and you have to make sure you abide by certain international regulatory frameworks and and legal rules, and so we have to make sure we're compliant on all those.
This is like maritime law that's
Yes, there's a space law. There's a UN body called the ITU, and that governs all of the space law. And so you have to make sure you're compliant with all of the space law.
Interesting.
So it's not necessarily the technical side which is the most challenging. It's the other aspects. It's the regulatory, legal aspects.
Wow. Okay. Last question. How do you then keep the team grounded while aiming for space?
Yeah. So the team we have are all incredibly excited about working on space, and it self-selects. So everyone we have working in the team has an interest, either a background in space, if you're in the engineering or space or rockets or so on and so forth. And the team we have, let's say on the marketing team, etc., they all are secret nerds. If
Sci-fi fans.
Yeah, exactly. If not openly nerdy. And so everyone's super focused, everyone's super excited. I mean, it is, when we launched the first satellite in December, everyone was sort of jumping for joy, and so they were temporarily off the ground, but we quickly brought them back down. But then it was straight back into heads down, because we're launching our next batch of 3 satellites are launching in October this year, so everyone had to go straight back to working on the engineering side of things and getting all that tied up. And at the same time, we've got coming up, we've got proof of concept agreements or trial agreements with the Indonesian government, with the Nigerian government, with a telco in Cambodia. We've got ongoing conversations with telcos, one of the largest telcos in India, and so on and so forth. So as exciting as the first launch was, it was straight back into work and managing these, and then building the community, because ultimately we want the crypto community, the Web3 community, to really, like us, believe in this project, get behind it, participate in it. There's a great opportunity for people who are interested in space to participate in the space economy. And although it sounds fantastical that we are launching satellites, we have a lot of ways for people to get involved in terms of tokenizing ownership, allowing people to participate as miners, node operators, so on and so forth.
And have you guys already generated some revenue, or is that still on the roadmap?
No, we haven't generated revenue yet. We're funded relatively well for now, and so we want to reduce barriers to revenue and focus on getting these demonstrations underway. So the plan is we get these demonstrations underway, build credibility, prove out the technology, and then expand the constellation ourselves. We will be launching more satellites continuously, but we also want to then partner with other space companies and bring them in to use our protocol. That could be satellite companies, it could be ground station companies, it could be people with mobile phone companies who want to be able to communicate direct to device. And so the plan to monetize is going to be dependent on the use case. So for example, if we are working with telcos and we are providing internet connectivity to individuals, there's a tried and tested business model, right? People pay per megabyte or per gigabyte, they pay for data. So we'll just follow the same business model. And if it's at the protocol level, SpaceCoin will govern the protocol, and there's likely to be some element of transaction fees as people use the protocol for various activities. So the protocol's going to be allow the whole space economy to flourish. So it's not just necessarily communication, it might be Earth observation, it might be cybersecurity. There's a whole list of things that you can do in the space economy, which we want our protocol to underpin.
Okay, that sounds great. It's really positive that you guys are making sure that you have the foundation first before really getting out and make some revenue. Because isn't always about money, right? So
it's not, but we're very sure that the money will flow. I mean, if you look, the internet is the most addictive drug there is. Right? You look at it. Once people have a taste of the internet, if you're targeting people unconnected, they get the internet, their usage will increase. They'll graduate from, let's say, simple websites to then whatever, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and the internet use will increase. And so we're not concerned about the business model side of things. We're quite certain that people will spend money to access the internet.
Great. Okay, I'll give you like 30 to 60 seconds. If you can give me an elevator pitch to the people at home.
About SpaceCoin?
Yeah. How would you deliver it?
So,
Well, because I want to be part of the space economy as well. So I can imagine other people listening to this interview.
yes. So the space economy is booming. It's going to become $1 trillion economy, and SpaceCoin is the space protocol that allows everyone, individuals, businesses, governments, to participate in that space economy, building towards a vision of permissionless connectivity for anyone, anywhere, anytime. Imagine censorship-resistant access, privacy, control, all through space.
Awesome. You heard it from the man himself. So if you're interested in SpaceCoin, make sure you check out bitcoinmagazine.nl for the in-depth article in this video.
Yep, or spacecoin.org is our website, so feel free to check us out there. Give us a follow on Twitter, LinkedIn, wherever you want to find us. And we'd love to chat. We'd love to chat with anyone interested in the space economy, interested in putting or joining our space protocol. Please reach out and we'd love to speak with you.
Awesome. So thank you very much, man.
No worries, thank you.
Great time.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Guys, make sure you tune in for more information like this, and see you next time.